Have you ever stopped to consider if what you believe to be pure and simple reality is in fact the complete picture of the world? Or could it be that, like prisoners in an ancient and powerful allegory, we are all in some way looking at mere shadows projected on a wall, convinced that they are all that exists, the only possible truth? This is the timeless provocation of the Greek philosopher Plato more than 2 millennia ago. And the question that echoes even today, and which we will deeply explore in this video, is, are you still living in Plato's cave? And what are the modern shadows that, in the 21st century, prevent you from seeing the truth more clearly? And of course, how can we begin to free ourselves from them? First of all, let's quickly recall this powerful story that Plato told us in his work, The Republic. Imagine an underground cave. Inside, since childhood, men live chained, with their legs and necks so bound that they can only look at the wall in front of them. The shadows as reality. Behind them, there is a fire, and between the fire and the prisoners, there is a path where men pass carrying all kinds of statuettes of human beings, animals, objects. The firelight projects the shadows of these statuettes onto the wall the prisoners face. For these men, who have never seen anything else, the shadows are the only reality, the pure truth. The sounds echoing in the cave, they attribute them to the shadows. The painful liberation of a prisoner. Now imagine that one of these prisoners is freed and forced to stand up and look at the firelight. At first, the light dazzles their eyes, causes pain. They feel confused seeing the real objects that produced the shadows. It would be more comfortable to go back to looking at the shadows they knew. The journey out of the cave, towards the sunlight. If they are dragged out of the cave, towards the sunlight, the initial suffering would be even greater. The sun, which for Plato represents the idea of the good, supreme truth, knowledge, would temporarily blind them. But little by little, their eyes would adjust. They would first see reflections, then objects, animals, men, stars, and finally they would be able to look at the sun itself and understand that it is what governs the visible world and causes everything they saw before imperfectly in the cave. Plato says that this man, now enlightened, would feel pity for his former companions and would wish to return to share his discovery. But upon returning, his eyes, unaccustomed to the darkness, would have difficulty seeing the shadows. He would seem clumsy. His words about a world outside would sound like madness to the other prisoners. They might mock him, not believe him, and if he tried to free them by force, Plato suggests that they might even kill him. Plato wasn't talking about a literal cave, of course. He was using this powerful metaphor to talk about the human condition, about our journey from the world of appearances and ignorance to the world of knowledge and philosophical truth. And believe me, this cave has very modern versions. Modern shadows and chains of the 21st century. So, what would be the shadows and chains that imprison us in the caves of the 21st century? They are many and often subtle. Today, perhaps one of our largest and most comfortable caves is the bright screen of our cell phone or computer. The algorithms of social media, search engines, streaming platforms are designed to show us more of the same, to reinforce our existing beliefs and preferences. They create information bubbles, true echo chambers, where we only hear our own voice and that of those who think like us, dangerously isolating us from divergent perspectives. The reality we see there is often a carefully curated performance, an edited and idealized version of others' lives, and let's be honest, our own lives too. These are the perfect shadows projected on the luminous wall of our feed, which we take as real and complete life. Traditional media, newspapers, television, radio, also projects its versions of reality, and it's important that they do as they inform us. But every narrative, no matter how objective it tries to be, carries a point of view, a selection, sometimes unconscious biases, or even specific interests. If we don't consume information critically, actively, and by seeking a diversity of sources, we run the serious risk of taking the shadow of a single perspective as if it were the absolute and unquestionable truth. Another incredibly powerful shadow in our time is that of consumerism. The idea that happiness, status, personal value, and the meaning of life come from owning things, the latest technological release, the fashionable brand, the perfect house, the car of the year. Advertising, in this scenario, functions as Plato's puppet manipulators, projecting desires and needs onto us that are often not genuinely ours, chaining us to an insatiable cycle of always wanting more, of working to consume, of consuming to, supposedly, be happy.
Many of our strongest and hardest to break chains are internal, forged by ourselves or our life history. Those deep beliefs of, I'm not good enough, this isn't for me, it's too late to change, the world is a dangerous place and no one can be trusted, I don't deserve to be happy. These are shadows that we ourselves project onto the screen of our mind and that prevent us from even trying to seek the light of new possibilities, of hidden talents, of a fuller life. When we rigidly, blindly, and passionately cling to a political, religious ideology or any ism, refusing any constructive dialogue or honest questioning of our own positions, we are, in fact, deeply trapped in a small, dark section of the cave. We are convinced that our shadows are the only true and morally correct ones, and that the shadows seen by others who think differently are dangerous, demonic, or simply stupid. Polarization is a noisy cave, where the echo of our own certainties drowns out any chance of learning or mutual understanding. In the daily rush, in the avalanche of information and stimuli, it is very tempting to take mental shortcuts. We adopt ready-made opinions that we hear around us, that circulate in our groups, and we react emotionally to events without deeper reflection, without checking the facts, without weighing the nuances. These are shadows that save us the, often uncomfortable, effort of thinking for ourselves, but in the process, they keep us in superficiality and ignorance. How to break free? Your journey out of the cave? So in the face of so many modern shadows surrounding us and within us, how can we, inspired by Plato, begin this journey out of the cave towards a clearer, more authentic understanding of reality and ourselves? It's not an easy or quick path, and perhaps it will never reach a definitive end, but it's a journey worth taking. The awakening of critical thinking, the tool that begins to break the chains. The first spark of light, the first sign that we might be in a cave, arises with questioning. Start asking, why? Is what I believe, see, or hear really true? What evidence supports this? And what contradicts it? Who benefits from this narrative, from this shadow? Critical thinking is the tool that begins to corrode the chains of ignorance and manipulation. The active, courageous, and diversified search for knowledge. Don't wait for truth to come to you in a silver platter. Go after it, and not from a single source. Read books by authors with different points of view, scientific articles, investigative reports, watch documentaries that challenge your certainties. Get out of your agreement bubble and expose yourself with an open mind to ideas that make you uncomfortable. The light of knowledge is often outside our comfort zone. The courage of deep self-knowledge, facing your own shadows. Looking inward into our own internal caves is perhaps the most difficult and most crucial part of the journey. Recognizing our own limiting beliefs, our ingrained prejudices, our irrational fears, our resistance to change, It's like getting used to the flickering firelight inside the cave before having the courage to face the dazzling sun outside. Therapy, meditation, journaling, deep philosophical reading can be true torches on this path of self-discovery. The willingness for the discomfort of truth. Growth hurts, but liberates. Leaving the cave, as Plato described, is uncomfortable at first. The light of truth, of a new perspective, can dazzle, can hurt. Discovering that what you believed for so long wasn't quite true, or that you were deceiving yourself, can be painful. It takes immense courage and humility to embrace this discomfort in the name of a broader, freer, and more authentic vision. Empathy and dialogue as bridges to other realities. Always remember, there are other people in other caves, seeing other shadows that for them are as real as yours once were. Trying to understand their perspective with genuine empathy, even if you deeply disagree, is fundamental to avoid falling into the arrogance of someone who left the cave and now believes themselves to be the sole owner of absolute truth. Respectful dialogue, the attempt to build bridges, is essential. Practical steps to liberate yourself. This philosophical journey may seem abstract, but we can translate it into practical steps for our daily lives. Do a regular and conscious information detox. Challenge the algorithms that constantly feed you the same type of content. Follow profiles, read authors, and consume media that present points of view different from your own. Take strategic and conscious breaks from social media to create space for your own reflection, for the silence that allows original thought. Courageously question your own absolute truths. Choose a strong belief you have about yourself, about others, or about the world. Now, with brutal honesty, ask yourself, what concrete evidence supports this belief, and what could contradict it? How did I form this belief? And what if I am partially or totally mistaken about it? Develop the art of active and empathic listening. Listen to learn, not just to reply. When you talk to someone who thinks differently from you, make a conscious effort to truly listen to what the person is saying, to try to understand the internal logic of their thinking, the feelings behind their words. Suspend judgment for a moment. Try to see the shadows of their cave through their eyes. Embrace complexity and flee easy answers. Reality is rarely black and white, good guy versus bad guy. Learn to tolerate ambiguity, uncertainty, and nuance. It is often in the gray areas that most of the truth resides. Connect with the real world and direct experiences. Less screen, more tangible life. Spend more time in nature, in face-to-face social interactions when safe and possible, in activities that involve your senses and your body, in direct experiences that are not mediated by a screen. This helps you to touch reality in a more concrete and less filtered way. Read Plato and other philosophers and critical thinkers. Returning to humanity's great thinkers, to those who dedicated their lives to questioning and seeking knowledge, is an incredible way to sharpen your own critical thinking, to expand your worldview, and to find inspiration for your own journey out of the cave. The continuous journey. Plato doesn't end the allegory when the prisoner is freed. He reminds us that whoever leaves the cave and contemplates the sunlight feels a kind of moral responsibility to return and try to help others who are still chained. But this is not an easy task, as we have seen. It requires immense patience, compassion, and the humility to know that you can't force anyone to see what they are not ready or willing to see. You can at most light a small torch with your example, share what you've seen carefully and respectfully, and invite questioning, the doubt that liberates. Leaving the cave, in the end, is not a single event that happens and voila, we are enlightened forever. It's a continuous journey, a daily process of learning, questioning, self-examination, and expanding consciousness. The modern shadows are many. They are seductive, and they are always reinventing themselves. But the flame of critical thinking, the search for truth, even if it is always provisional and multifaceted, and the courage to live more consciously and freely as Plato taught us so long ago, continue to be our best and most powerful guides. It's not about achieving an absolute and final truth that no one else possesses, but about always being willing to learn more, to expand our vision, to question our certainties, and to live more authentically and connected to a broader and deeper reality. What are the modern shadows that you think imprison you or our society the most nowadays? And what's the first small step you can take, inspired by Plato, to seek a little more light and clarity in your own life? Share your reflection, your doubts, your discoveries here in the comments. Let's illuminate this cave together with lots of dialogue and respect. If our journey through Plato's philosophy and the challenges of our time inspired you to think and question, leave your like, share this video with whoever you think needs this liberating message, and subscribe to the channel for more philosophical and psychological dives like this. A luminous hug, and see you next time.